folks. I want to talk about facilitation. Well, actually, I want to talk about one of the questions I get asked most often, which is how do you deal with difficult people or challenging groups? And so first I want to reframe that a little bit for you. My experience and my belief is that there is no such thing as difficult people. There are people having a difficult day or a difficult situation or a difficult circumstances, but they're not people who are difficult, right? That's a label we apply when we struggle to deal with their attitudes and their behaviors. And so if we can think about people as, maybe they're those attitudes and behaviors, but they're those things and so much more. And the same thinking applied to challenging groups, right? What's been their past experience or their history of interaction or the situation they find themselves in can make some of their attitudes and behaviors challenging, but let's let go of some of those labels and recognize those are about our own assumptions. And so I want to reframe the question with, how do you deal with difficult and challenging situations with groups rather than people? So let's let go of those labels. Really, we're talking about facilitation. So I want to offer to you my definition of facilitation. I know there's lots of schools of thought that is about meeting design and setting agendas and managing time and putting up ground rules, which if you've ever worked with me, I hate those two words. Like we have the rules for how other people should behave. So here's my definition of facilitation. It's the art and structure of letting go and letting come and moving groups forward in ways that center humanity, that build understanding, and that shift our views of each other and the situation. That is really the art and structure of facilitation. So I want to give you a couple of tips to think about while you're working with difficult and challenging situations and the people who are in those conversations. Number one, you got to set clear intentions. What are you trying to achieve? What do you want to walk out of these conversations with? And what do you want people to feel and experience in those moments of discussion? And to remember that as the facilitator, you are responsible for the physical, emotional, intellectual, and social needs of your participants. So design accordingly, like make sure there's food and snacks and comfy chairs, and you've thought about how to connect people and build relationships. You've thought about what will be challenging and a trigger. Do you need counselors there? So all of those things that go into creating a conducive space and environment for conversation. Work with the energy that is present. So by that I mean people bring a lot of stuff and it brings a lot of energy. I think the best definition of emotion is that it is energy and motion, and all people's past experiences and judgments and the state of their relationships, they come with energy. And so how can you meet that moment? And then what do you need to bring that shifts it and redirects it and sends it off in a different direction? Are things feeling crunchy? Can you smooth them out with some peaceful offerings or slowing things down? So think about the energy that is present in the conversation. Intervene. Now, I use that word not in the way it's so often used, like to get people to comply or to enforce the rules. I want you to think about intervention as a redirection or an adjustment or just a movement off in a different direction, right? Is tension building? Well, okay, well, how are you going to intervene it and de escalate it? Are people exhausted and tired and creativity is lagging? Well, can you do an exercise that maybe it's a little playful and lighthearted that kind of rejuvenates them a little bit? Can you insert physical movement when people are stuck and kind of tired to kind of work things through and allow them to process? So, intervention as a way of maybe disrupting and channeling and adjusting the conversation. Use the tools in your toolbox. As a facilitator, you should have a giant treasure chest of tools. They should include things like asking powerful questions and setting group norms with the group and using physical movement and allowing venting and then moving that venting to a shift in something else. Not what do we not want, what do we want instead? So you should have a giant pile of tools in your toolbox, and as you have those tools, you should be practicing them and using them regularly so it doesn't become a situation of, oh, what am I going to do now? But you've got it in your bones. You're a master of, oh, okay, without even thinking, this is the thing we need to do, or the question I need to ask, or how I need to change the space, and not to be attached to that. Try something different. And if it didn't work, okay, take responsibility for it and try something different. Again, you're using your tools in service to the group. Invite emotion. I think that the best facilitators are masters at inviting people's anger and fear and grief and anxiety and joy and excitement and anticipation into the room and onto the table so we can talk about it and look at it and really understand it. Because of course, emotion is a path to making meaning. It's a signpost that says, hey, this matters. We should pay attention. And so let's use emotion to help us process, make meaning, and figure out a way forward. And at the same time, as a facilitator, grow your own awareness about your own emotions because emotion is contagious, right? And so we can play off of each other and it can be present in the space. I've got a couple more tips for you in the blog that is posted, including use pacing, tone, and tension intentionally to change and shift the space, be flexible, adapt, and let go. And then lastly, to choose courage and gratitude. It requires great courage to support a group, to move to something new, to step in and name the elephant, to welcome the emotion, to invite people to be uncomfortable so that suddenly you can shine a light on something new. And it is the best work in the world to be a guide, a leader, a supporter, a challenger, an encourager to help people connect and see something new, to shift their views of each other in the situation, to move forward. It's grateful work. It's satisfying work that makes a difference in groups and organizations and communities. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the blog. If you want to learn more about how to be a great facilitator, check out training because we've got some excellent courses, including IEP2 facilitation coming up soon. Thanks so much.